Welcome friends, today we are going to talk about the shoulder joint. This is an interactive module from which we are going to learn certain objectives like first of all recognize the bony landmarks of shoulder region, then some basic understanding about the vasculature, then understanding the structure, ligamentation, versus of glenohumeral and sternoclavicular joints, and then ultimately understanding the superficial anatomy of shoulder girdle. So first of all, we should understand that this particular vasculature will be supplied by the subclavian artery. You can see this is a subclavian artery, which is above the clavicle. It will be known as subclavian. Below the clavicle, it will be known as subclavian. Then from middle part, that is in the axilla, it will be known as axillary artery. At the lateral edge of first rib, the subclavian artery becomes the axillary artery. And then at the lower border of teres major, the same artery is going to be continuous and the name will be changed just that is brachial artery. So this will be some basic uh, blood supply of this particular region. Then what are the bones of this particular joint? There will be clavicle, there will be humerus, the upper end especially, and then the scapula. Then let's see the scapula first. So there are two views. One is the anterior view, one will be the posterior view. So here you can see this color is subscapular fossa, that is attachment for the subscapularis muscle. Then there is acromion, the highest point of the shoulder. You can understand it articulates with the clavicle, lateral end of clavicle. Then there is coracoid process, which is have multiple attachments like coracobrachialis, short head of biceps, and others also. Then there is glenoid cavity, which is the main target of here. That is gleno part of glenohumeral cavity. That is in shallow cavity, which will be deepened by different other types of structures. We will see later on. Now talking to the posterior side, you can see there is supraspinous fossa. This is for the attachment of the supraspinatus muscle. Then infraspinous fossa, that is the attachment for the infraspinatus muscle. Then spine, again especially for the deltoid and trapezius, the attachments are specifically here. Then again the acromion you can see from the posterior side. In this particular diagram, you can also see the lateral border, the medial border, the upper will be the superior border, and this is the tip. Okay, I'm only going to discuss whatever is shown in this particular diagram. Okay. Next is the lateral view. Again, you can see a little bit part of supraspinous process, fossa, that is attachment of the supraspinatus muscle. Then infraspinatus fossa, attachment for the infraspinatus muscle. Coracoid process, again I have told you multiple muscles like coracobrachialis and short head of bicep basically. Then acromion. Then supraglenoid tubercle is there. This is for the, again attachment for the long head of biceps. Infraglenoid tubercle, this is for the attachment of the long head of triceps. And then there is glenoid cavity for the formation of joint. Now see the humerus. It's the anterior view of upper end only. You can see this is the greater tubercle. Multiple muscles are going to attach. You can remember it by a small mnemonic SIT. Sit down big tubercle or great tubercle. So SIT. Supraspinatus, infraspinatus, and teres major, minor. Then here it is lesser tubercle. There is only for one muscle, that is subscapularis muscle. Then this is the anatomical neck. You can see the upper part or head of the region will be divided into two parts. One which is the round and sharp part or smooth part, and other will be the other parts. Then there is a surgical neck which totally divide the head from the shaft region. Then there is intertubercular sulcus, that is between this greater tubercle, this is lesser tubercle, this is intertubercular sulcus. It is going to give to the attachment to the three muscles. You can remember the mnemonic that major lady between two major, the teres major, pectoralis major, and latissimus dorsi, all will be having their insertion in this particular circles, also known as bicipital groove. Now, from the posterior view, you can see this is the humeral head, which articulates with the glenoid cavity, greater tubercle, anatomical neck fused with the plate in the adult, and deltoid tuberosity for the insertion of deltoid muscle. Then, talking to the clavicular, so this is sternal head, which will be towards the sternum, that is middle one also. Acromial head, that is lateral one also. Then there are some impressions of the muscles, specifically in this region you can see the impression of pectoralis muscle. Again, acromial facet is here on the lateral end, which articulates with acromion. sternal end, conite tubercle, trapezoid line. So these are the certain points which we have to identify which type of things it is. So this particular example here is given of right clavicle. Now talking about the shoulder joints, so basically you see this, they are talking about all the shoulder joints, and primarily there are three joints: acromoclavicular joint, which is between the clavicle and acromion part of scapula. This is synovial plane type of joint. Then there is glenohumeral joint. This is the basic shoulder joint, what we call articulation between the glenoid cavity and the head of humerus. And this is a highly mobile ball and socket type of joint. And the last one is sternoclavicular joint, sole anatomical joint connecting upper limb to the axial skeleton, functionally similar to ball and socket joint. So this whole three thing can be included in one word known as pectoral girdle also, or here it is called as shoulder joints, not a joint. Typically shoulder joint, this is only glenohumeral joint. So talking about one by one, that is acromioclavicular joint. Acromioclavicular joint is an articulation between the distal clavicle and acromial process of scapula. While no muscle acts directly on the AC joint, it is a critically important for the normal movement of pectoral girdle. So this particular joint we are talking right now, dislocation of acromioclavicular joint is commonly called as shoulder separation, because clavicle is separated from scapula now. It is typically caused by direct blow to the acromion, like falling directly on the tip of your shoulder. If acromioclavicular and coracoclavicular ligament both are ruptured, the distal end of dislocated clavicle become more prominent. So here there are two ligaments, especially coracoclavicular and one is acromioclavicular. If both any of them are, or both of them are going to be ruptured, then this joint becomes more prominent and its clavicle comes moves towards the forward side. So here you can see humerus, scapula, clavicle. Then the second one is sternoclavicular joint, means between the sternum and clavicle. You can see this is the clavicular notch. Here it is going to form the joint on the medial side of clavicle. So the sternoclavicular joint is articulation between the sternal end of clavicle and clavicular notch of sternum. This is a type of fibrocartilaginous disc. Within the joint, there is present a fibrocartilaginous gene. Despite the small articulating surface, the ligament and articular disc make this joint very stable. Dislocations are quite rare. The clavicle will usually fracture before it. Okay, so this particular joint is a strong joint, that is sternoclavicular joint. Now comes the important one which we have to talk right now. So here you can see glenohumeral joint. The glenohumeral joint is a synovial ball and socket joint with a surrounding joint capsule for stability. You can see basically three coverings are there, that is glenoid labrum, the yellow color, then blue one is synovial membrane, then fibrous capsule is there, and inner synovial membrane that secretes synovial fluid for lubrication and nourishment supported by the rotator cuff muscles. Rotator cuff muscles are the group of four muscles: SITS, supraspinatus, infraspinatus, then teres major, minor, and then the subscapularis, and they are covering this whole particular joint from all the side except the inferior side. That's why from the inferior side it is most commonly dislocated. Okay, so supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, and subclavicular. The glenoid cavity is inherently shallow. A fibrocartilage, that is glenoid labrum, acts to increase the depth of the articulation between the humerus and glenoid head. So this is the basic view of the glenohumeral joint. Next, we will see certain ligaments which are going to provide the stability to this particular joint. So one by one, first of all, you identify the bones, clavicle, scapula, and humerus. You already have done. Now you see this is acromioclavicular joint. With the name only, you can understand from where they are going to get joined. The acromioclavicular means between the acromion and clavicle. Okay, support the acromioclavicular joint from the superior side. Then coracoacromial, between the coracoid process of scapula and acromion itself, it holds the humerus in the glenoid cavity. Then coracoclavicular, between the coracoid process of scapula and clavicular, it primarily supports the acromioclavicular joint. Then glenohumeral, it is between the end, basically from the glenoid cavity and the head of the humerus. It is going to provide the strength from the anterior side to the glenohumeral joint. Then coracohumeral, it supports the glenohumeral joint from the superior side. Coracohumeral means between the coracoid process and upper part of humerus. Then comes the sternoclavicular. It consists of four major ligaments which provides the stability to the sternoclavicular joint. So these are certain joints, sorry, ligaments which are going to provide the extra stability to the joint. Now, as we have said that sternoclavicular ligaments are four in number, so you can see here, anterior sternoclavicular ligament is this, posterior clavicular ligament will be from the posterior side. I will show you, like you can see here, posterior clavicular sternoclavicular ligament, which will be seen from the posterior side. Then this is interclavicular between the two clavicles, then costoclavicular between the first rib and the clavicle, and then you can see one more from the posterior side, that is articular disc, which is present here, which is of fibrocartilage. So this is the sternoclavicular ligaments from all the views. Then comes the bursas. The bursa are the synovial fluid filled sacs that reduce the friction between the structures, especially the bones and ligaments. Thus, bursa acts to protect the structures and facilitates movements. Inflammation of bursae may occur with prolonged repetitive stress, trauma, and other causes. So basically, there is going to be inflammation known as bursitis. Wherever you see word itis, it means some type of inflammation is going to happen. So basically, there are four main bursas which are shown here. You can see this one. This is subdeltoid, that is below the deltoid. It facilitates the movement of deltoid muscle. Subscapular, it protects the subscapularis tendon. Subacromial facilitates the supraspinatus muscle movement. Subcoracoid reduces the friction between the multiple tendon attachment. So these are the some bursas which can be identified here easily and are of clinical importance. Now, little bit about the surface anatomy of this region. So, you can see this is the acromioclavicular joint. You can palpate it. Bicep muscle, if it is built, must build, then it can be easily viewed. Clavicle, it is subcutaneous. You can easily feel. Coracoid process. Then deltoid muscle, a contour can be seen. Then the greater tubercle, which can be felt in this particular region. For this, you need little bit practice. On your own body, you can do it. Next one, on the lateral view, again you can see acromion, biceps, deltoid, deltoid tuberosity, triceps on the back of the side. On the posterior view, you can identify the latissimus dorsi, which is attached at the tip of the scapula, medial border of scapula, rhomboids, spine of scapula, triceps brachii. Then you can identify this infraspinatus, supraspinatus muscle, teres major, trapezius. So this muscular surface anatomy can be seen basically in the man who is doing some little bit type of exercises and all this, and muscle buildup is good to identify. So this was some anatomical point of view related with the shoulder joint. Not all the details are given, but it is very much helpful for you to identify the basic structures and to remember the basic anatomy of the shoulder joint. So, thank you. So here in this particular diagram, we are going to 3D view of the things. So you can see one by one. This is subscapularis muscle, which is present in the subscapularis fossa from the anterior side. If you see, this is the clavicle bone, that is subcutaneous bone present in the pectoral region. Now you can see the greater tubercle of humerus. Here there are three muscles are going to be attached: SIT, that is supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, which are going to form the part of the rotator cuff also, plus subaqueous. Now point number 4 is intertubercular circus. In this particular circle, it is between two parts, that is greater tubercle and lesser tubercle. Three muscles are going to get their attachment, that is latissimus dorsi, pectoralis major and teres major, already between two majors, you can remember it easily. This is lesser tubercle, there only subscapularis is going to get the attachment. Now this they are the one ligament between the coracoid and acromial process known as coracoacromial ligament. Now this is acromioclavicular joint, AC joint. Here you can see supraspinatus muscle, which is present in the supraspinous fossa, which is going to form the one of the part of the rotator cuff. Here you can see the spine of scapula. Two typical muscles are going to get attached on the clavicle and trapezius. So this is infraspinatus muscle, which is present in the infraspinous fossa. This is teres minor muscle, which is present on the lateral border. So here you can see the head of humerus, which is going to take part in formation of the joint. So this particular model, I think, gives you a little bit hint about the anatomy of the shoulder joint. Thank you.